All right, we're live. Hello.
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 Yes, we're here today to talk about
The Toll.
the last book in the Scythealong and the Arc of Scythe trilogy. More importantly,
The Toll.
oh, sorry, the things caught up with me. It's making noise. Anyway, yes. So, what did everyone rate this book? I'm curious because I know this one's a divisive one.
I gave this a 5 stars still. I loved it. And I just say I can't believe we finally made it to the end. And I feel like this story is like
we did it.
So intense.
Mm-hmm.
And The Toll, in my opinion, is a fantastic conclusion.
Noelle, what do you think?
Okay, I gave it actually a 5. I was between like a 4 and a 5, just because I felt like it was so long. But then I don't know. I feel like I landed on feeling like it was justified and worth how long it was and how like detailed everything was. So I don't really do like half ratings, but if I did, this would probably be like a 4.5. But I just was like, 5 stars.
Yeah, I was like a little bit torn this time whether to give it 4.5 or 5, even though like I know that half a star really is not that much of a difference, but like for me 5 stars is like this is a favorite, and 4.5 this is really good but not quite a favorite, because I think like now I prefer the first book, whereas before I preferred this one. But then I was like, when I was like filming my wrap up and I was talking about it, I was like, actually, I love this book. I think it's a 5, so I don't know. But I think it's a really good conclusion, personally.
Yeah. No, I definitely can agree, though, that it was really long. Like, it felt a lot longer this time around. And, like, I don't know if it's because, like, I just was putting it down more often, or, like, I already knew the story, so I felt like I could just, like, put it down and, like, walk away from it. But it kind of, like, felt like it dragged on at certain points.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I do think like every detail was justified because there was so much built up. And Noelle, you remember me telling you, like, pay attention to the covers, pay attention to every little detail, because it does like add up. And I feel like this was really like the, not to like, you know, be a fucking tonist, but the crescendo of the story.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I think there are things as well, like there are details that are literally I saw in the first book and I was like, this, I know where like this is a clue for the third book, but we'll get to that when we get onto spoilers, which I mean, we might as well do now because it's the third book. You can't really talk about it without spoilers. So yeah. Actually, do we want to talk about the clues now? Just if you noticed any?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head. If you have any that you can think of.
I have 2. The first one, like, it's so obvious once you know, but it's in Citra's last name, Terra Nova. It's like New World. And yeah.
That went right over my head.
I think it's only because I study Spanish, so like in my mind I instantly was like, Tierra Nueva, like New World. Oh my god. So yeah, I looked it up on Google Translate earlier and it's Portuguese apparently. But yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of like a clue for the end. And then also like this isn't a clue for like the whole going off into space thing, but just like in general, like about Goddard and his like vendetta against engineers. Like that's kind of, I think, is it in the first or second book where he goes and gleans a bunch of engineers?
I think it was in the second book.
Yeah. Yeah. So I kind of, well, this time around when I read that, I was like, that's gonna be important later. And yeah, those are the 2 things that I picked up on.
Nice. Yeah, I think I was more so picking up on like, at least the second time around, with the small mentions of like the Tonus, and then the small mentions of like just the little groups that were starting to get together, and like you could see that obviously like Neal set up Thunderhead to really be Goddard's book. Like, this was like his show, and I kind of love that because he is like the perfectly chaotic person that you needed to stir things up, because when you're looking at this world, like, it looks too good to be true. So I think he was that like perfect evil that we needed, but you don't see like how bad it gets until literally the start of it. The first note that I have ever written was "High Blade Goddard who?" And it's just in all caps. I was like, how is this real? But in terms of other clues, I think it was just the Tonus plotline that obviously, again, was set up to be what it was for Grayson. But I don't know. I didn't really see too many more hints this time around.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, because there were certain things that I was like remembering that weren't necessarily clues, but it was like, oh, I didn't realize we were going to come back to that. Like at the end where they like find Scythe Da Vinci's like journal pages, and they're like, oh, because in like the first book, I think they say, oh, all the original founding Scythes have self-gleaned, and that's just like that's like a throwaway thing. And then we find out that like, no, they murdered each other, and it's like, oh, okay, didn't know we'd come back to that.
Yeah.
Great. What was the other one that I noticed? Kind of like you were saying, like with the Tonus, and at the end when I was dying when like the tone rang out and everyone's rings burst, and they were like, some might have said it was A flat. I chuckled. And even like the transmitter, the Tonus make into like a pilgrimage. They're like, it's the tuning fork. I think that's so great, because that was like Scythe Da Vinci's plan to like put it in children's rhymes and in like religions and all these things. I thought was so smart.
Yeah.
God,
I just I was like, this book is just so clever with some of the things that it did. And like I think one of the coolest things were some of the parallels to like the US and like our society in general, because I feel like obviously as a dystopian, that's the whole point of like creating these like new cultures and these new things. But like there were moments where I was like, oh man, this reminds me a lot of home. It reminds me a lot of the United States of America. And it was like kind of freaking me out in a sense where, you know, like he's obviously Neal Shusterman is obviously doing this with a purpose, and like he's trying to throw in his little social commentary, but I feel like it really rang true in this one, like more than any of them. And there were lines where you could see Goddard like get really intense. And there's a point where he's like, oh, we should have some like preventative measures for people who we think that we should glean. Then the line is literally, do you think that we should glean people prior to them creating an offense? And I was like, ooh, there it is. Just dropping some lines right then and there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I feel like any other clue that came to me was Goddard is a psychopath and he is going to get what he deserves.
Yeah. I really like seeing Goddard just like get angrier and angrier like throughout, and he's just like throwing so many tantrums, and it's just like, dude, calm down. Like
yes, who hurt you?
Yeah.
The world hurt him. He didn't get what he wanted.
Yeah.
Yes, I did love his ending though, because that was like kind of foreshadowed even in the second book with Rand, how like she was like thinking about Tiger and having some feels or some regrets, and then it wasn't even like explicit, I don't think, at the end, where maybe you guys can better explain to me, but like somehow she like killed Goddard and put Tiger's like sentience back into his body.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
that's where the he's not a full Scythe came in,
Mhm.
Mhm.
because he is in a body. It's almost like religious in a sense that the way the Scythes are created. So it's like if you're
Yeah.
not like baptized as a Scythe, like you're not a full Scythe. So I think that's where that like technicality came in from, and I thought that was so freaking good. I was so happy when that happened. I was like, yes, give me that like little extra something against him.
Mhm.
But at the end of the toll, he was back to Tiger, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But I actually like can't really remember how he died. Like Goddard, obviously. Because I
I
know
don't
that
think they said.
yeah, because I know that he was like Rand killed him when they were in the plane,
Hmm.
like stop him, but then he was
Oh yeah.
I
I
thought
think
that
he just gets like a fade to black death,
yeah.
because we can assume that since Tiger is back,
Mhm.
that if that like what 5% of Goddard's gone,
Mhm.
then that 5%'s gone, or
Right.
whatever the percentage was. I don't remember.
Oh, right. Like I was just thinking because in the book, I think Rand like says or like thinks something about like how even though he's dead, like he won't be dead forever, like about Goddard.
Mhm.
And now
Mhm.
I just realized it's because then she's like, no, I'm gonna like put Tiger back together.
Yeah.
So yeah, because I was
Yeah.
thinking that she was gonna revive Goddard, and then for some reason, but no, I'm there now.
I was thinking it's like the spirit of Goddard, like the tenacity behind him,
Mhm.
if anything, would like live on.
Mhm.
But otherwise, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Mhm.
Can we talk about Grayson?
Yes.
Because Grayson had his moment in this book. Like,
Mhm.
obviously, you see, his deeming specialty in Thunderhead, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, okay, who the hell is this guy? He's obviously supposed to come around at some point.
Mhm.
And then he just becomes this like cult leader
Mhm.
the next morning, like it's
Mhm.
nothing. I don't know. I loved his character development, and I loved how much we got to pay attention to him.
Mhm.
And I feel like he was like really refreshing as a character because he was the most human out of all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he made his mistakes and still like went to this like governing body to try to like figure it out. And like the Thunderhead talked to him like he was the Pope. Like it was next level.
Mhm.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine like putting myself in his shoes and sitting there and being like why do you expect me to be this person? And yet he still like followed through with like everything that he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I loved him. He was so sweet, and he just turned so like corrupt.
Mm. Yeah. I love it when when he gets rid of Mendoza, when he's like, we're done here, basically.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just love that he like became more kind of independent then. But then also I feel like the power kind of like didn't go to his head, but like he definitely was like on a bit of a power trip, I think.
Oh yeah.
Who's that other character that talks about that? Was it Jericho? And like they mention, I think it's like when they get to the island and Jericho's like, wow, now I'm trying to imagine myself if like I had been the person, because this is after the Thunderhead like takes over their body. Like if it had been me, I think I would have just like had a power trip. Like how does Grayson stay so grounded? And that was that moment where that made me think like, oh yeah, that would have been me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he was like dead at some point was, I think, really interesting. It's like he literally just like hid from the world, and like the Thunderhead just protected him.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more scared than anything at that point.
Yeah.
And to see that he wasn't, I was like impressed.
I know. And I love the way that he learned to like read between the lines with the Thunderhead. Like even when the Thunderhead like would say nothing, and then Grayson would be able to say like, okay, that means it's about a scythe, and would continue asking questions. It's like, wow, that's so clever. I would have just been like talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have just been like, I don't know what you're trying to get me to understand. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I guess like even with Grayson, there was like the assassination attempt where the Thunderhead is like, you should take a vacation. Like you should take a vacation far away right now, immediately. And Grayson's like, what are you talking about? No, I want a midnight snack. And then after all of that, he's like putting the pieces together. Like, okay, you wanted me to take a vacation far away because you couldn't tell me that there was an assassin Scythe, but you were trying to warn me somehow. And then that like sends him on this whole like reading between the lines thing with the Thunderhead. I thought that was just so fun to read.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, that's when they had that mask cleaning. Yeah. Yeah. I just, oh my God, I love this book. Like, it's so complicated in so many ways, and it just works.
Yeah.
I think, what did I write? I'm trying to find a note that I had about Grayson that I was like really impressed, and I can't find it. This is what happens when I try to get my brain to work at 8 a.m.
I think, like, as far as like disappointments, you could tell me if I missed this because it was a long book, but I'm like disappointed for Rowan that like he was never like exonerated for what happened in Thunderhead. He was just like, I'll go to a new planet instead. Like I wish that it would have been revealed officially that it wasn't Rowan. But I don't know. I can live with that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's supposed to be kind of like assumed like by the population that it like was all Goddard, but like I think it would have been nice for his name to just officially be cleared. But
yeah.
I feel like both Rowan and Citra were kind of done dirty in this book though, because the timeline is what, 3 years after Thunderhead?
Yeah.
So it's like you just see like so much has happened to them, and yet nothing has happened to them.
Yeah.
And like nobody knows where they are. And there was one moment where I literally wrote like, where's Rowan? Where's Citra? Like why are we not understanding like where they're at? And I guess like the ending was like the perfect way of bringing them in, but I was so like disappointed and like sad in seeing like how pushed off to the side they were, because they were like my favorite characters, and like I felt like we had enough of them in book 2, but not remotely enough in book 3.
Yeah, they're definitely not like the main event in this story.
And that made me really sad.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of liked that. Not that they were pushed to the side, but that like in the first book, it's all about Rowan and Citra and like learning about being a Scythe. And then the end of the first book is like, we're Scythes now. And then the second book is like, oh shit, we're Scythes now. And then they're like kind of there, but also like Grayson is introduced. And then the third book is like, we don't want to be Scythes anymore. Like I like how it was this like clean arc. So I like that it wasn't about, other than like Goddard's gleanings, killings, there wasn't like a lot of Scythe actions in the third book, even in the second, which I thought was a cool choice to kind of say that like everything that happened in the first book is no longer what we're focusing on. I thought was really kind of sneaky. I liked it.
Yeah. This one's definitely more like, okay, the world's fucked. What are we gonna do?
Yeah. New planet, I guess.
Yeah,
I loved. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was like, I just love that whole like, let's pick everything up and just like leave. Let's just try to start over somewhere else, and they tried so hard. And to see, I think like especially at the end where they like finally get to those. Well, you see the coordinates from the very, very beginning, right? Like Grayson is given those coordinates and is like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, you expect me to know? But to see how every single piece of like this society is like working towards that and they don't even know it, I think was like so much fun. Because it just showed how much power the Thunderhead like really had. And I think like more shocked than anything to see how quickly things started to fall together, considering the fact that the book was so long. Like what that happened in like part 4 or something, where like Jericho's finally starting to get a little bit more involved in the main plot line, and like you're starting to see like their importance and this and that. It was just it was like just so, I don't know. I feel like it was well done because Neal Shusterman knows how to like pick out those little plot points and put them together, but it was just like almost like too chaotic for me reading it this time around, because I was like, there's a lot happening here.
Yeah.
And it's a lot to piece together.
Yeah, I think it's like a really, like, it builds quite slowly, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, all of these pieces are now fitting together, and like it's a bit crazy.
I was going to ask you guys if you remember any clues from the first 2 books about the thing that happened with like the first gleaning with Goddard, like on the moon or something, or any clues about them like going into space, if there were any like subtle mentions, because that would have been another small critique of mine, was like everything else was like so well foreshadowed that if like it almost felt like, wait, we can go to space now. You know, like I would have liked a few little breadcrumbs, but I feel like I might have just missed them.
I think there is some mention in like the earlier books about like failed space things. Yeah, I think that
I feel like it was in those like hidden records conversations that they were having. And then I can't help but think it came up at some point. I don't remember if it was in book 1 or 2, but where they're like sitting at the diner with Citra and Rowan, and then with Anastasia and what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? The
Faraday?
other mentor. Faraday, yeah. Yes. Where they're all sitting and like in that. I feel like that was a conversation that happened then, but I can't remember like properly.
Interesting. Yeah, I would be curious to know like how many clues there was on that front.
My the neighborhood cat just came in. Stevie, you want to come here?
Oh.
Can you hear her?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, she scared me.
What else do I have to say?
Like, what else? I feel like what else happened in this? It was so insane.
Oh, how did you feel about the whole like taking the dead Tonus and then they were gonna implant them with like the memory construct of like the best of humanity? What do you think of that?
No, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I don't know. I think is how I'm supposed to feel. Like there's a reason that the Thunderhead like didn't want to share that, even with everyone in the inner circle. Like he told Grayson, who told Citra, and they were like the only ones who really knew. And I get it. Like the reasoning was, well, the dead are dead, and that sucks. We can't like revive them. But we can put them in freezers for 1,000 years and then give them new memories. I don't know. I think it was clever, but it still is like, in a way. Although I did realize like we're getting quotes throughout the book of like some kind of like holy text, and then at the end you realize that it's from some religion on Aria, which is like the planet, what's her name, Astrid, where she like negotiates for a Tonus planet of Aria, even though no Tonus like living Tonus are like there with her during the journey. And so it was interesting to see how whatever happened on the journey or in the last like 1,000 years that it took to get there, even though all of the like dead Tonus revived or implanted with new memories, somehow they still got back to that like religion, which I thought was cool. So even though maybe there was like some mention like, oh, maybe their spirits will still be there or something, even though they have new memories, I thought was a really interesting way of looking at it.
I thought it was just a really interesting way of trying to like preserve society as much as they possibly could have. Because when you look at like, historically speaking, right, these like mass gleanings and things like that, like they'll always wipe out a culture, wipe out whatever, unless you have those like handful of survivors. So to take like the technology of this world and really amp it up, I think was like a fun way of trying to like figure out how to salvage as much as they could, but like morally speaking, it felt wrong. I was like, what do you mean? These are people with like their own free wills and their own this and their own that. But I think it just kind of goes to show the intensity of the Thunderhead still, and saying that like this world isn't like controlled by like what you want. It's this like external being that you just don't have any power over. And like I almost felt kind of helpless reading it the second time around, because I was like, why am I letting the Thunderhead like make me feel this way? Like I shouldn't. I'm not in this world. But I think that was like a really, you know, like kudos to Neal for creating that kind of atmosphere in a way that definitely like challenges your mindset.
Yeah.
I think that's just like my general feeling for this entire book. Like everything that I think I know was questioned, even though I know everything that happens in the book. It's still so like powerful to like see the way like each character is affected by all of the decisions of the Thunderhead, and like how each character has to deal with each consequence so differently. Like Citra and Rowan were literally put into like a you know, like a biofreeze thing, and like they had to be found together in order to like save everything. Like how do the two starting characters end up in that situation, only to just pop on out right at the end? Like
yeah.
I know, I forgot too. I remember. What did you guys think of the like Lost Island atoll perspective that they had with like Faraday and I forgot what her name was, but they all like ended up there stranded.
Munira, I think is her name.
Yeah.
It was like perfectly chaotic for the book.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I didn't have like, this goes to the book was like really long. I feel like this was another section of it that it was like, okay, like now you have to set up this entire area and this entire world. And I think by the time I had gotten to this point, I was just like tired of reading. So I think that's why like my opinion of it changed a little bit. And I was like, yeah, I was like, okay, like whatever. Like I don't really, why am I seeing this again? And like it makes sense in the end, but I feel like it should have been like a little bit, not like glossed over, definitely not glossed over, but like sped up a little bit more for my liking.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it a lot the first time. Yeah, because it was like setting everything up, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And this time I was a bit like, okay, I know this already. But I thought it was really interesting that like they got there, like Munir and Faraday arrived there the day before, or like before the whole thing on Endora had happened. So they just had no idea about anything for like however long it took for all of the Nimbus agents to arrive. And yeah, I thought that was really interesting. And then Faraday just like lost it and lost all hope, and it was really sad.
I know. Yeah, the scene where he like runs to Citra on the beach and like collapses and is weeping. I was like, okay, this is I'm sad. Like this is beautiful.
Yeah. Like seeing Faraday, I think in this book was way more impactful than any of the characters, in my opinion, just because I have so much respect for Faraday from book one.
Mm-hmm.
And like since then he is such like an underrated character, in my opinion. Like he sets everyone up for success as much as he can, and yet he is still like the person that is like beaten down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's that scene where he's literally like crying. I was like, oh my god, this poor man has done so much for this world and is finally just like so exhausted. Like I felt that like sense like of weight off my shoulders seeing that happen again. And
Yeah.
I don't know, it was like, it breaks my heart to see that we had such little time with him, but at the same time to have such little time and have that much impact, like that's how you know he was a good one.
Yeah. Actually, I loved seeing him at the end with when he did his like sympathy gleanings, they called them. I thought that was so sweet. And like such a nice thing to do after like all the pain that they'd caused before, to be able to like take away people's suffering. It was very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. In my mind, I was like, oh, this is perfect for Faraday. But you're right, as far as like a poetic like plot device, even it was like reversed it, and then they got to be the heroes rather than like the scary guys.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's him and Munir that like activate the fail safe and like do all these things, it's like it just goes to show like how much the older sides know about this world that isn't told. Like I almost wish like there was like a supplemental book to this where you can see like the sides throughout history, and like it's almost like a history book, but like just all about the sides and all of the accomplishments that certain sides have done. And like I would love to read like just Faraday's journal, or just Anastasia's journal, or just, you know, like certain people's journals. And like I wish it existed, because like I want to understand their inner workings even more. Like how are you going to tell me that Faraday and Munira just knew that this failsafe was going to be like there? It just, I feel like that kind of just came up, and it wasn't like well hinted at, in a sense, like to say that there was a way out of all of this. You know, like the Thunderhead and everything made you feel so hopeless, and like the way the plot was going, you're like, well, they're shit out of luck, not much I can do about it. And then they just come in and they're like, hey, by the way, good old wise man over here, I got a plan. So I would have liked, a critique, I would have liked to have seen more of like the historical background, not on the sides, but like on the prep and like the failed missions and things that have brought them to this point where they know that they have this fail safe and this ability to set somebody up for saving, if you will.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Like even like in the second book, there's a lot of it, but we don't, it's super vague and it's like not clear what they're looking for. Cause like, I feel like they don't really know what they're looking for either, but you're right. I would have liked a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I don't know if I think this was in the acknowledgments of the book, but they're making a movie or movies of the books, apparently.
Wow.
And so I was wondering, who would you cast?
Oh my gosh.
No.
I have no idea. So I'm really bad at this sort of thing. I'm like casting who, but yeah.
I'm terrible at casting, but I would want someone who has like, man, that's hard.
Yeah,
I know. I feel like the only person like that I really specifically pictured in my mind was Faraday for like some weird reason. I was like, yes, I can really picture this old man. But the rest of the characters were kind of just like blobs in my mind. But now I'm trying to think of which old man I would want to play Faraday.
Yeah, I feel like we don't get very many like descriptions of what they look like, so it's hard to
Yeah.
hard to think, but I
I've
think
also been terrible at this my entire reading career. People
Yeah.
sit there and they're like, "Oh yeah, like I would love to see so and so play this character," and I'm like, "How the hell did you?" Well, it says on line 32 on page 47, right here. This is how they look, and I'm like, I gloss over that shit like so quickly.
Yeah. The only character who I think like who I know is I would want what is his name? Kenneth Branagh to play Goddard, only because of like because in the first book specifically, he really reminds me of like Professor Lockhart. And yeah, so I think that I think he could play him really well. But then I also think he's a little bit too old because I think Goddard's supposed to be like, I always picture Goddard as like 30, like he's supposed to be like kind of young, but yeah, he's like the only person.
I'm trying to think. Who's the guy that plays the mentor in the Hunger Games?
What is his name?
I don't know, but he would play a really good character in this book in this movie. I don't know who, but he just like needs to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for like Grayson, I just picture some like what can you find me like the first like scrawny male actor that you can find and like slap on like a cute face on him. Like I feel like
Tom Holland.
Oh no, see, I feel like he won't do him justice.
I'm hurt.
I love Tom, but I don't think he'll do him justice. I think you need somebody that's like a little younger in terms of their acting repertoire, because now all I can see him is like his other roles.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Dylan O'Brien casted in this.
Yes, I want Dylan O'Brien to mean everything.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm trying to think who would Dylan look good as.
I think he'd be a good Rowan. Maybe he's a little bit too old.
I think he's a little bit too old, but if he was younger, if this was like peak Teen Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I could 100% see him being Rowan, because he's that exact like spunky black-haired little brat that comes out and is like educated and knows what he's talking about at the end, but still has an yes.
Yeah,
there you go.
But I mean, they're always hiring older actors to play teenagers anyway, so he might as well just
No, you look like you just
I
had like a
have
breakthrough.
My favorite choice. It might be a little strange, but the guy who plays Heisenberg in Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston.
Oh.
If we just, grade up his hair a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be wise and also fiery,
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, I like that.
God, he's so old now.
Curie has to be Meryl Streep, the only option.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either her, like, I feel like Julie Andrews would play really well in this.
Oh, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I feel like the two of them have the same like level of respect in my women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm trying to think who would Citra? Who would you cast as Citra?
I have no idea.
Like I would want someone like spunky and like energetic and just kind of all over the place, but still grounded. And I can't think of like too many women who have played roles like that.
I know. I'm trying to look at a list.
Also, other question to do with the whole movie. Do you think that they'll be able to do a good job? Because I feel like most of the time, book to movie adaptations are just flops, and I don't want it to flop. But I don't know. What do we think?
I feel like they could do. The thing is, I feel like this is one of those movies where if it's done the way that like the same level of intensity as the Hunger Games, I think it could be done well.
Mm-hmm.
because I think those movies were really well adapted.
Yeah.
So if you could get the people from the Hunger Games to do this,
Mhm.
maybe. But I feel like if it's like The Giver, I feel like The Giver like completely transformed the movie. Or like the movie was completely transformed from the book. And that was like an improvement on that end. I don't think the Ark of a Scythe trilogy needs improvement in terms of an adaptation. So I don't know.
I think they're the kind of books that will really turn into good movies or have the potential to. It just depends on like who's making the decisions and directing it and all those things. But I think like as far as the story goes and the world goes, I think it could be a really good movie series.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially because like it's not like there's any like special creatures or anything like that, like there are in like fantasy things that need to be like CGI'd in. So
Yeah.
like I feel like it would be relatively like simple
Yeah.
to make. Yeah. So I guess it just depends who they cast, who writes the script and all.
Yeah. You know who I think would be cute as Citra? The girl who played Rue in the Hunger Games. Because she's older now, so she's a little bit like she's our age, I think. What's her name?
Wasn't she a Kravitz? Am I making that up? I thought she was Lenny Kravitz's daughter.
No. Amanda Stenberg is her name.
Oh yeah.
She's 22. Yeah, I think she'd be cute in as Citra, because I feel like she'd have that same kind of like, I'm lost, but also I'm way more wise than any of you, and you don't know it yet. And I think that she would portray like that level of high respect that I think Citra's character definitely needs, especially as she becomes a Scythe. Like, if you were to see, oh my god, if her and Dylan O'Brien were to get casted together, and to see that dynamic, I would be like all for it.
Yeah, I think that's I think we've got a good cast here.
Yeah.
Now
I don't even know if that's like
making this movie to watch this and find out.
I don't think, but the thing is, I looked up stuff from the movie, and the movie doesn't look like it's in production like at all.
Oh, okay. Maybe they just like sold the rights or something. I definitely read
a trailer.
What?
Yeah, there's a trailer on Neal Shusterman's, but it's like a fan trailer. It's not like an actual.
Zoe Kravitz was in Divergent.
Oh,
never mind.
Yes. Yeah.
As Christina.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh, I just found a thread of people who were like, who would you cast?
Oh, okay.
And somebody else casted Rowan as Dylan O'Brien.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
I don't see it. Dylan O'Brien is too vanilla for me.
Really?
To play Rowan, I don't think I can picture that.
Like, the only reason I can is because Void Styles was a thing. And if it wasn't for the depth as Void Styles, I wouldn't be able to say the same.
Okay, apparently it's in development as a feature film with Universal.
Wow.
As of when?
Whenever this book came out, 2019, I guess. Yeah, it's in the acknowledgments. So
okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I'd love.
Oh. I'd love to what, Mel?
What would you love?
Oh, that's funny.
I wonder. Oh.
I have no idea what just happened.
What were you saying though? You'd love to something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's been on pause for so long and it's not going to get picked back up. So I don't know. They haven't really done. I saw an announcement on Deadline, I think, but after that, nothing else has been posted.
Well,
I don't know. I would live to not see this become a movie. Like, I'd be fine if it didn't.
Yeah, I think they work so well, like as they are, that it's not necessary.
Yeah.
But I think they could make really good movies as well. But I don't know.
The neighborhood dogs decided it's time to bark.
Good morning.
Yeah. All right, Noelle, considering the fact that it was your first time reading it all the way through, what are your thoughts? Are you on the same wavelength and fan boat as myself and Samantha?
I think so, or close to it. I think this is for like a young adult series. Like, this did not have to go this hard, but it did that. She is that series, so
Yeah.
I'm really impressed. I think still my favorite thing is like the social commentary and like the philosophy that it kind of brings up. I think I really like how it ended in the Toll. That was like a 5-star book. I don't know if it's my favorite or if the first one is my favorite, but yeah, I love it. I think it's super unique, brings up a lot of interesting things. I'm happy.
Good.
I'm glad.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah. And well, do you guys have anything else to say? Anything to add? No?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, do you have anything interesting coming up on your channels that you want to promote before we finish it off?
Not really. I'm kind of taking a hiatus, so I guess this is the first announcement of that. I got into grad school, so the next couple weeks are going to be insane in terms of prep for that, but who knows? I'm kind of on a hiatus and I feel really bad, but it's okay.
Nah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
I don't have like, it's like at that weird point in the month, you know, like I'm halfway through the like Star Wars readathon that I'm co-hosting, and then there may be some announcements towards the end of this month, but we will get there when we get there.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to hear whatever they are. But well, thank you guys for joining me for this read along. I'm so glad that you wanted to read it with me, because I was like, I need to reread this series already. And I think it was loads of fun. So thanks for joining. And yeah, we'll see you all very soon at some point.
Yeah, this isn't the end of this trio for sure.
Definitely not.
But well, thank you for joining us for the read along. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.